Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. It's Saturday morning. I'm so glad that you are on with us. Good morning. Make sure you hit the share button and invite some other people on with us. I'm so glad that you're here this morning. It is Saturday morning, and it is our Saturday morning book club. And we are coming to you this morning. Um, Giving you the opportunity to join in with us to talk about our Watch the Flags book that we've been covering for the last couple of weeks. We have about 2 more weeks left, and we will be done with this material. But good morning, everybody. Good morning, Miss Vivian Granberry. Thank you so much for joining. Good morning, everybody. We'll give everybody just a few seconds to jump on. How are you all? I'm going to share it on my Facebook page as well. Okay, good morning, everybody. Make sure you give me a shout out. Let me see where you tuning in from. I'm not sure whose comment this is, but if you go to the top of the post where you join the live, there should be a link that says give StreamYard permission to see your comments so that we can see your beautiful face and name as you're making comments this morning. So make sure you do that so we can know who you are. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. We are excited about today's content. For those of you who haven't, this is new. We are reviewing the book called Watch the Flags. Looks like this. It is from a pastor by the name of Dr. Conway Edwards. It's a phenomenal dating book, and we have been dealing with the different pieces of this book. And this week we're going to be on the chapter that has to do with emotions. Okay, emotions are the red flags that we're going to talk about today. So we're super excited about this content, y'all. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome, everybody. So as we get started, we're going to just remind you of a couple of things. The book club logistics is that we meet on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. To cover the content of the book. It is live here on Facebook as well as on YouTube. If you want to go to the Queen Cassandra Haynes is what you're going to type in, and it should pop up my face with the blue and white stripes on, and you can join the YouTube page as well if it's easier for you to watch from YouTube. Just a reminder, no negativity or rude comments, or we will send you over to the block party. All right. And also, why am I doing this? I am doing this just simply to bring awareness and to talk about relationships and to hopefully to have someone not go through the pitfalls of dating that I've been through. And based off a situation that I went through, I really just felt prompted to have the open conversation. I want you to feel free to ask questions in the comments, to make comments as we're going through the material today, and to get involved, because this is not just me talking to you, but I want to hear your side of things and how you feel as well. A couple of things we've talked about just to catch you up is that dating requires maturity. It requires you to have pay attention to yourself. Dating requires a whole lot of things. And I think a lot of us enter into dating very haphazardly, but the goal of this is to make sure that we're making quality decisions and that we are choosing the best potential mate for us based off of our things that we have been through and what we know. So knowledge is power. And once you know better, you're supposed to do better. So that's what we're hoping for in this. All right. And then also last week, we talked a little bit about conversations. We talked a little, our last week was about relational flags, and the goal is connecting deeply with someone without fighting the noise of the unspoken hurts that you've experienced in the past. So if you missed that one, that is called episode 4, which is relational goals. We want you to go back and review and catch up with us. This is week number 5 that we're on. Our challenge last week was for you to make a list of conversational topics that you're willing to share as you're dating and getting to know potentials. We don't want to bleed all over people and to instantly tell them all the bad things we've been through. So last week we talked a little bit about making sure that we make a list of things that are interesting topics or things that we want to discuss that would be interesting to someone else. But not only that, we allow them to see who you are without having to hear all the bad things right up front that you've been through. So that was our challenge for last week. So this week, we're going to go into our discussion on part number 5, which is called emotional flags. So we're on emotional flags today. So a couple of things, this is a good topic, and I'm excited about us covering this, is that our emotions affect everything else. So if you've got to make sure that you are in the right frame of mind to even begin dating, because your emotions affect everything else. If you are an emotional wreck, then guess what? Your relationships and your friendships and all of those are going to be emotional wrecks. So we've talked extensively the last couple of weeks about dating starts with you. It's not necessarily us looking at all the criteria for everyone else, but making sure that we're addressing ourselves as well. So just know that dating starts with us and our emotional health and our mental health, and our psychological health is very important as you enter into the dating world. So a couple of things that we want to mention this morning. Number one is that our emotions affect everything else going on with us. So we've got to keep our emotions in check when we are dating. The other thing is that we must nurture our own emotions. Listen, sometimes we have a tendency in the dating arena to feel based off what the other person does. So if they're paying me a lot of attention, if they're giving me everything I want, if we are spending a lot of time together, then I'm happy and upbeat and all those things. But then if I don't hear from them as much as if they get busy, if I don't have time to spend with them, if things are not going the way I feel like they should go, then I'm down in the dumps. It should not be. So it is our responsibility to nurture our own emotions, to know where we are in our life. You know, the biggest thing about dating is to be a healthy, whole person before you start dating. Because if you're not, you're going to be looking for that other person to fill those buckets we talked about last week that you're missing in your life. And that's so much weight to put on someone so early in the game. Good morning, Miss Sherry Oliver. Thank you so much for joining. So that's a lot to know early in the game, that you're going to be dependent on somebody else for your own emotional happiness. Should not be. We've got to do our work up front so that we can be emotional, happy, healthy, whole, before we get into our next dating relationship. If you cannot be emotionally free with someone so important in your life. So we know, we've talked about in the past that the goal of this is to date with intention, date for keeps, right? So if we're dating for keeps, we're gathering information, we're meeting people, we're exploring the opportunity of them being our next potential mate, that's going to be an important person in your life. The book talks about it cannot be, if you can't be emotionally free with that person, even in the beginning, you will end up in prison. And I'll tell you, this is absolutely the truth, because I was in a situation at one point where the person had this, and we're going to talk a little bit about this idea of what they thought I should be versus who I really was, and allowing them to get to know me. They decided they wanted to make me into what they wanted me to be, or not so, but we're going to talk about that. And when you do that, what happens is you put the other person in prison. You are not giving them the opportunity to really be who they are, and you are trying to mold them into someone else you want them to be. So you've got to be able, when you meet someone, to feel emotionally free. Am I having to walk around on eggshells? Am I having to do a lot of things that causes me to not be happy? Am I always got to watch what I say. I can't use my sense of humor because they're always so on edge. Am I able to truly be emotionally free with this person that I'm attempting to date? And if the answer is no, then that means that it's time for you to try something different. Good morning. Make sure you allow StreamYard to see your comment. If you go to the top of the comment page where you joined, there should be a little link that you can click so we can see your name and also your comments. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. Next, so our first flag of the day is that you don't feel safe and you change who you are to fit them. So what are we talking about? You don't feel emotionally, psychologically safe. You have your guard up. The person doesn't give you the liberty and the freedom to express yourself, to use your sense of humor, maybe to, be silly, to talk through things, to laugh, to have a good time, to experience your joy, to listen to your music, to make sure that you are happy and, vibrant in the relationship. If you don't feel safe with that person to just truly be who you are, and they want to change you into who fits them best, then maybe that's a red flag for you to be looking at. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Please make sure that you're giving StreamYard the opportunity to approve your comments. So when you go to the top of the post where you joined, just click that little link up there and we'll be able to see your name and your comment. Thank you for everybody for joining. So as we go into this today, again, if you don't feel safe and then the person is trying to change who you are, it is a red flag. The book tells us that you are not the mystical figment of who they've always wanted to be with. Y'all, this was something that kind of blew me away that I had not necessarily thought about before. In the book, he's talking about this person not making you psychologically, emotionally safe means that they have a picture in their mind of who they want you to be. It may be their high school sweetheart. It may be the person they've dreamed up in their mind based off all their life experiences, but they're determined they're going to make you into the person they've always wanted to be with instead of getting to know you uniquely for who you are. You should never let someone change who you are to match something other than what God has called you to be. Whoa, this is deep. It says you should never let someone change who you are to match something they want you to be versus who God has called you to be. So what does that mean? Again, dating starts with you. You got to know what is God's intention for me? What has he called me to do? What am I supposed to do in this life? What kind of person has he made me to be? When I'm at my absolute best, that's who God has created me to be. And then I bring that and present it to the potential person. And if they try to change up and say, no, actually, I think if you're, for example, if I'm a human resources professional, which I am, and then I meet someone and they say, you know what, I like you and everything, but I'm going to need you to go back to school to be a doctor because human resources isn't good enough for me. Then guess what? That's a red flag. My calling in life, professionally and entrepreneurially, is to be a human resources professional, to be a people person. God has created me to have relationships and to get to know people and to deal with people all the time. And so if I meet someone and their desire for me is not to be that, then that's telling me that that's a red flag. It's not a good match, because if they don't want me to talk, they don't want me to be relational, they don't want people to get to know me, then that's going against who God created me to be. And I'm very comfortable in who God created me. So I would be doing myself a huge disservice to be in a relationship with someone who does not like that about me. So this is telling you, if you can't feel safe to be who you are when you're beginning the dating relationship, then this is a red flag for you to think about and to not necessarily go into that. If it's important for you to be, it is important for you to be confident before you get into a dating relationship, so that you won't crave. I'm sorry, let me read this right. So you don't carve away your own personality to realize you are an empty shell later. Okay. So reading this again, it is important for you to be confident before you get into a dating relationship, so that you don't carve away your own personality to realize later that you're an empty shell. So again, this is just re-emphasizing the fact that you've got to do your work first. Go into the relationship confident in who you are, knowing who you are called to be, so that you don't allow other people to define who you are and later on end up very unhappy because you become someone that they wanted you to be instead of being who God created you to be. So again, we're focusing on emotional wellness and relationship emotional flags. This doesn't mean that you should not try to improve, right? So some people go into this like, I'm that's who I am. I'm going to be who I am. I ain't changing for nobody. Well, guess what? That's not the right attitude to have going into relationships. Okay. So I'm not saying in order for you to be emotionally safe that you can just stay who you are. You never have to compromise or improve. That's not the goal. The goal is, though, for you to be confident in who you are, to know who God has made you to be, and then to allow your potential to show you things that you could potentially improve on, right? So maybe you are one of those people that has a hard time introducing yourself to people, right? And then maybe your potential is a person that's very relational, very outgoing. So what that person can offer you is some tips. They can show you, you can watch how they conduct themselves, and you can become better at making friends and learning how to introduce yourself to people. That's just an example of something that someone can bring to you to improve what you're currently doing. The goal is not to change who you are, but it's that other person should be able to offer you some things to improve. And so what they offer you to improve should bring you closer to who you were divinely made to be instead of what they think you should be in the mind. Again, no manipulation. Okay. So when you meet someone, if they're instantly trying to change you to be something totally different than what God has created you to be, that's manipulation, is a red flag, and you have to pay attention. All right. It says psychological and emotional safety are also important. You should never find yourself just doing whatever the other person wants or says just to avoid conflict. This is important. Like I mentioned earlier, walking on eggshells. I know that there was a time where I was involved with someone who was not very emotionally sound, and I knew that, but I was, again, we talked last week about my wanting to be superwoman and give people super love and thinking that my super love was going to save them and make them somebody different. Totally wrong. So I was involved with someone who was not very emotionally stable, and I felt that if I went along, if I was submissive, if I was that person that didn't challenge them, that everything would be better. That I walked on eggshells. I was always very cautious about what I said, what I did. And in a relationship, I should be the most comfortable with my potential mate. I should never have to not feel safe to be who I am, to be able to bring up issues and concerns that I have. But because I did not pay attention to those red flags, I was in that situation and had to figure out later how to get out of it, because I was not happy for the rest of my life walking on eggshells around the person. I can't smile every time I'm happy. You want to know why you so happy today? That is a person that is not emotionally stable. So you've got to be able to know who you are when you go into the relationship so that you can properly define what meets your needs in a relationship and what you're willing to compromise on and what you're not. Because you should never find yourself just doing what the other person wants or says just to avoid having conflict. That is not safe. Compromise in a relationship is important, but should never feel one-sided. You should always, compromising is good, which means, hey, we don't always have to go to the restaurant I want to go to. I may not like Mexican, but you love Mexican. So maybe I'll go to the Mexican restaurant with you and just find something on the menu that, like, every restaurant has rice, every restaurant has chicken. So even though you love Mexican and I don't, I'm going to compromise, go to Mexican, eat Mexican with you because I want to compromise in a healthy way. Surface level, those are the things that you compromise on. You don't compromise on core values. You don't say, you know what, my core value is that I'm always going to be honest. And then I meet someone and they want to say, well, if you love me, you really want to be in this with me, I need you to help me with this side business. And then you find out that the side business is scamming people. That is something you don't compromise on because that goes against your inner core values. So compromise is important and it's good to compromise, but you should never do it one-sidedly where you are compromising who you are in a relationship for the betterment of the other person. And it's one-sided. You're not getting anything back. Okay. So again, this is the first principle of feeling safe in a relationship involves making sure that you know who you are, you go into the relationship confidently. And then lastly, you don't allow the other person to manipulate you to become someone that they have in their mind that you should be, but it's not the person that God created you to be. So that's the first principle of this chapter. The second principle or red flag of this chapter involves dating a person that has not gotten over their ex. Okay, let's talk about this. They start dating you without getting over their ex. They move quickly into another relationship to avoid desperation. Okay, we all know somebody that moves from one situation to another situation to another situation without giving themselves time to rebound and to heal. So the book talks about us making sure that we have time in between relationships to consider what happened and how to grow and mature from it as a result. So if you don't take time, if you don't take a pause in between, you just go right back out and find somebody else, you're not giving yourself the opportunity, number one, to heal and to be emotionally okay to move forward. But you're also not taking time to figure out what happened. Did I do something wrong? Was it the other person? Could I have done something better? Remember we talked about dating requires maturity. So in order to be mature, you've got to be able to take time in between situations and assess that. But if you go right from one situation to the next, you're not giving yourself time in dating to rebound and to be better, to present yourself at your best for your next situation. Okay, so you must take time between relationships. And if a person, when you meet them and all they want to do, well, when I was with my last man, when I was with my last woman, my ex-wife did this. If that's all their conversation is about, they have not gotten over their ex. They are still bitter. And do not ignore the flag. Okay, don't ignore the flag. If a person has nothing but conversation about their ex and all the bad things that happened to them, they are still suffering. They have not healed. They have not done their work, and you cannot love them past it. Okay, you got to let people do their work and be okay with saying, you know what, right now we're going in the friend zone because I see that you still have some residue from your previous relationship. And right now I want to make sure that I am engaging with someone who is happy, healthy, and whole. So it's not that I got to cut you off, but I'm going to give you time, and we're going to be friends until you are able to move past what happened to you with your ex. You got to be mature enough to have those type of conversations, because getting into that and someone isn't healed is just going to put you, like we talked about in the beginning, in prison. It's going to cause you to not be able to have a good, healthy relationship. It says people who ignore this flag, again, personal accountability. If you ignore this flag, you are used to the chaos and instability. So what does this say about you? If you're a person who ignores the flags, the person has not gotten over their ex, you are still making sure that you can, I'm sorry, I'm getting some notes that you guys can't hear me. Everything looks good on my side, so I'm not really sure what's going on. But it says people who ignore this flag are used to the chaos and the instability, which means that if you choose to not pay attention to this flag, then you may be a person that's used to chaos, that you have developed over time tolerance for foolishness. And that is not okay in relationships. You should not be used to chaos. You should not be used to instability. And you definitely should not be used to accepting it when you're meeting somebody new. So if you meet somebody new and they are full of chaos, they're not over their ex, they are unstable, then you've got to be able to look at that and say, something's not right here. And that's not what I'm willing to accept. Stop compromising early in the game, especially on the core values and the core things you need in a relationship. Like I said, you can compromise on, okay, where we're going to meet. You can compromise on, okay, well, maybe you don't like a picnic. Maybe we go do something else. But those are things that are surface level that you can compromise on, but you should not be compromising on the ability to be at peace, to be stable, and to be a true adult in your situation. The book says you should not have to be the voice of reason to a grown adult. Come on, somebody. You should not. I'm telling you, especially meeting somebody. If somebody you meet, you've always got to be the voice of reason to them, that they are chaotic. Their thought process is never complete. They pop off at the drop of a dime. Like I talked about, you can watch people and how they react to the person at the drive-through and tell a lot about them. So if you have to be the voice of reason to a grown adult, that's a red flag. If a person is depending on you to bring them stability, disaster is bound to happen. That is too much to expect when dating. It is too much for a person to expect you to always be the person to keep me in check. And people, this is what people will say. You know what? I'm so glad God brought you into my life, because without you, I before I met you, I would just pop off at the drop of a dime. But anytime that you're around, I feel at peace. I feel calm. That is manipulation. That is them telling you that they're depending on you to help make them stable. No. A person should be stable on their own. If Jesus and therapy and the Lord can't help them be stable, it is not your responsibility to help somebody else have the voice of reason all the time. You are putting on that missionary savior syndrome hat, and that is not for you to do in this season of dating. So you should not have to be the voice of reason with how somebody behaves. If the person is depending on you to be stable, then you are setting yourself up for disaster. It's just too much to be the voice of reason and have to be the one who's always got to bring peace to the situation. That is a red flag. Red flag. Red flag. Okay. Yes, absolutely. Red flag. Thank you, Ms. Melinda. Red flag. Okay. Now, the next piece, it says a green flag. So we've talked about the red flags. You can't be safe. You're not feeling confident that you can be yourself. And then they're depending on you to bring peace in the situation. They haven't gotten over their ex. Those are all things that are red flags in the emotional category of dating. The book goes on to say, though, that a green flag in this is that you care about what you can give more than what you can get. So this is called relationship maturity, is that you're going into this situation saying, okay, I see where the person is. I see who they are. Let me figure out ways that I can enhance this person's life, that I can show them, I can give them more, resources in this area, because this is what they're trying to do. I can grow and I can learn how to do certain things to make their life easier. So the green flag in this situation is if you meet someone and they're interested in how they can help make things better for you, you're interested in how to make things better for them, then that is how this should be. That's the green flag in this situation, because you're both approaching it from a mature standpoint, where this is about what we can give to each other to be beneficial to each other, to enhance who God has created us to be. I'm not trying to change the core of who you are, who God has created you to be. You're not trying to change the core of who I am, that God has created me to be. But we are looking for ways to work in partnership to make each other's lives better, to enhance each other's life. So that is the green flag in this, is that I care a lot about how I can give more to you, and you care a lot about how you can give more to me. We talked last week about if you are selfish instead of selfless, you have not reached the maturity level to be in dating. It says selflessness is a learned behavior, because most of us are born selfish. And we know we have to, even as children, most kids, you have to teach them to share. Some of us are born with that innate ability to always want to care about other people. And I was born that way. And so I talked to you guys last week about trying to be the missionary and save people. But there are a lot of us who are not born that way. We have to be taught how to be selfless. We have to be taught how to care about other people. And so in the relationship, if you get involved with someone and you are that giver, then you've got to make sure that you've got it in the right boundaries, so that you are not overly sharing. And then again, go back to what we talked about earlier of it being one-sided, because this is not designed to be one-sided. This is designed to be mutual. If you come into a relationship ready to give, but you find yourself dating a taker, because there are people who are just takers. They're all about what's in it for them. You are in for a steady stream of manipulation. Listen. So if you decide to date someone and you find early on they have a hard time thinking about what you want, they have a hard time asking you, are you okay? Every conversation is all about what's going on with them. They're never interested in what's going on with you. They don't ever ask, how can I help you? What could I do today to make your life easier? Is there anything I could do better? How's our friendship going in your viewpoint? If they never consider your side of the equation, they're most likely a taker. And this book is talking about the principle of, if you find yourself in a situation where the person is a taker more than they are a giver, then you may be in for manipulation, which means that they see you as a target. They see you as a person that can easily get what they want, and they will get into this with you because they realize you're that much of a giver, and you would have and they will just keep taking. One thing that I learned a long time ago was that you have to train people how to treat you. And if you train people how to treat you, it's by what you accept and what you don't accept. So if you start off in a dating relationship and you are accepting, them never thinking about you, you're always giving up your right for the wrong. I'm always walking on eggshell. I always have to go where you want me to go. I never can do what I like to do. Then that is a problem. You are in a situation with a taker, and you are in for manipulation for sure. The book tells us we must ask questions concerning a person's motives for dating to avoid this. So being confident. Again, last week we talked about come up with in advance some things that you're going to talk about, some questions that you have that you're going to be comfortable asking. And those are that are important to you. And those are the things you should be asking to see, what is this person's motives for even dating? Are they looking for a come up? Are they desperate and just afraid to be by themselves? Are they have they been through a bad situation and they're just rebounding and looking for help? And did they just get out of jail and they need somewhere to live, and so they're being in a relationship with me so they can have stability when they get out of prison? What is it? Why is the person even dating? What are they out here for? Okay, ask yourself these questions, because you need to understand the motives behind why people are dating. There are truly some people that have just reached a point in their life where they're looking for companionship. They want a partner in life. They want to do life with someone. They're ready to love. They're looking for the person that fits them, that's compatible, and that can be that partner for them. Those are the right motives. But if you're looking for something different from that, if you just want a booty call, I need you to be honest and tell me, you know what, I'm at a point in my life right now, I really can't be devoted to anybody. I just want to have casual sex, what they call friends with benefits. That's really this. This really won't be a relationship. I just want friends with benefits. Then you need to be honest and tell me that. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want that, you need to be man and woman enough to tell somebody that, I'm working on myself. I've been thinking about what I've done wrong in the past. I need to really take a break, but physically, I still have needs. I'm really just looking for somebody that I can hook up with from time to time. And that is what this is. And be honest, and don't take the other person's choice away. There is nothing worse to me than somebody being fake and not being honest with who they are and what they want out of something, and then later on finding out that this was not even your intention. You just came on to me because you wanted sex, or you just came on to me because you thought I could give you something. That is so, it's wrong. It is wrong, and it is manipulative, and we should not do people like that. So we've got to be careful, especially those of us who are just naturally giving people. You have to be careful in this category with dating, because people will see you as a target and a way to get what they want. It has nothing to do with wanting to be a partner with you and to live this life and be happy and successful. They're all about what they can get from you because they need something. So they're a taker. So you got to be able to ask the right questions concerning a person's motives when they're out here in these dating streets. The next says both parties must come into the relationship with the intention of giving rather than getting. The happiest relationships involve mutual service toward each other. Mutual service toward each other. So what does it mean to mutually serve? just as we were talking about before. We're talking about how I can give and enhance your life and how you can give and enhance my life. This is not designed, again, to be one-sided. We should both come into this happy, healthy, whole people, and we should be looking for the intention around playing for keeps, being in a serious relationship, and me giving what I can give, you giving what you can give, and we end up happy together, both in service toward each other. So the last principle of this week is talking about thankfulness. So if we're saying, in order for you to be happy, healthy, and whole from the emotional standpoint, getting into a relationship, you need to take time in between. So in order for you to do that, one of the principles he talks about is a way to practically fill your time up with thankfulness. Thankfulness when you are transitioning between relationships is very important. So you should have some time in between. And during that time, you should think about ways to be thankful for. I went through a tough situation. I'm so glad I made it through it. I'm on the other side of it. What did I learn? How am I better because of it? What thing will I do better? Taking time to analyze, it will help you have a positive self-image and help you not to change the core of who you are based on someone else's idea of you. So being thankful to God that he has made you who you are, that you were created in his image, that he has a purpose for your life, that, you may not be with the person that you're going to be with for the rest of your life, but you're still in the land of the living. You have a lot of potential. You are still growing. You are still learning. You are beautiful. You don't look like what you've been through. You still have a great personality. You have a lot to offer. You are able to do things that other people aren't. There's a lot of great things to be thankful for, that you have a beautiful family, that God has blessed you with so many things. So this is what he's indicating in the book can be a time filler for you in between relationships, that while you're focusing on rebounding, getting yourself together, getting to the point that you're happy, healthy, and whole first, practice thankfulness and practice being able to recognize the good things that are happening in your life, so that you have some good things to talk about with that individual instead of always focusing on what happened in the past. There are some of us that date, and while we're dating, our only point of reference is what has happened in the past. But I want to challenge you to actually take some time and think about, even though those past situations might have been rough, might have been tough, might have been difficult to deal with, what have I learned from them? And what things can I be thankful for as a result of what I've been through? What things can I just really be happy about to say, what, that was good. You tried, what kind of things can I really say I can be thankful for in this in-between time, while I'm preparing myself, while I'm doing these challenges, while I'm attending this book club? What is it that I'm thankful for? And so week number 5's challenge is to take time and analyze and evaluate what went wrong with your last relationship. And I know a lot of us don't want to think about it, but you've got to face the pain. You've got to face what happened. Some of us went into a shell after it was over and are refusing to come out of the shell. But I want to challenge you to take some time and think about and analyze what happened in your last relationship. And if your relationship ended because of, something that was inevitable, maybe you are a widow now, there are still things in that relationship that you can think about and evaluate. Think about the times that y'all had the worst fights. Okay. What was your part in it? What was their part in it? And how will you do things differently this time when you are getting involved with your next partner? So you have an opportunity to take time to analyze and to evaluate what went wrong with your last relationship. I want you to take some time, journal about it. How have you grown from it? Think about what it is that you can do to healthily compromise. Because remember, compromise is about surface. Compromise is not changing the core values of who you are. Compromise is about things that you can offer up as a healthy compromise, a thing between the two of you. It should not be something where it's challenging you to change who you are. So we are ending a few minutes early. I wanted to open it up for questions. Does anyone have any questions in the audience about this content today? This about emotional stability, emotional wellness, emotional red flags, making sure that you are getting into a situation where the person cares just as much for you as you care for them, that making sure that the person is over their ex, making sure that they're not manipulating you to be who they want you to be, but that you're in a situation where you can feel safe and that you can be who you are. Making sure that you're being nurtured and that your emotions are in a good place when you're around that person, and that you don't feel like you always have to walk on eggshells and be who they want you to be. So are there any questions, comments about this? I don't see any in the chat. Just want to make sure. All right. Well, if there are no questions or comments about this, I hope it has been helpful to you this morning. Again, we will be back next week with the next chapter. The next chapter is going to be a very interesting chapter. The next chapter, we've talked about emotions, we talked about relations, and now we're going to talk about sex. So next week will be the sexual red flags and the green flags that we should be looking for while we are dating. So next week, we're getting into the let's talk about sex, baby. Yeah, we're getting into the sex relationship category next week, so you don't want to miss it. Just as a reminder, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's called Queen Cassandra Haynes. I would love for you to come over and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I also have a jewelry and accessories business that we do a live every Thursday night at 8 p.m. You don't want to miss that either. You can also follow me on Instagram, and if there's ever a time that you want to plant a seed, there's the Cash App there if you desire to ever plant a seed toward the things that I am doing. Thank you, Miss Sherry. Thank you so very much. So I hope that this has been helpful. It's been good content for you today. I encourage you to get out and do something for yourself today. Find a way to be thankful. Find something to be thankful for. And that's what we're going to focus on today. So I hope you have a wonderful Saturday, everybody. And we'll see you next week for the Watch the Flags Book Club review. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye-bye.